Next up, we go to women's basketball. We have kind of a saying when it comes to people we work with and know. We call it the vortex. And the vortex is certain people you can start telling stories about, and then the next thing you know, an hour goes by and you're still talking about that person. Pam Wilson, there is definitely a Pam Wilson vortex. And every person that knows her is currently laughing, so that's all you have to say about Pam. But my favorite part about Pam is Pam does some things that you go, really? But the person that's laughing the hardest about it is Pam. Nobody enjoys their own aura more than Pam Wilson. And I am so honored to have her as a friend, and I'm so thrilled that she's going in tonight. It's her competitive spirit, her positiveness, her personality. Pam's just a blast to be around, even if she likes to karate chop you in the throat like she went through a phase with at one point. So I'm honored to be a part of her special evening tonight and to introduce her. Please welcome Northwood Athletic Director, former women's basketball coach, and her coach, Mr. Jeff Curtis.
The Pam vortex. Yeah, we could go a few different ways with that. I'm going to start off by just kind of painting the picture of the recruitment of Pam Wilson. I was in my third year as the women's basketball coach here, and our team was making some strides, but we were still not there yet. We were missing a piece. So in my recruiting efforts with my staff, we identified Pam Wilson as a player that we absolutely had to have. So with that, not very smart, we went all in, and when I mean all in, I was at every single game. And she could probably attest to this. I would sit right in the front row, right at half court. Pam was going to know I was at that game. And looking at it now, probably foolish. Had we not gotten Pam, I don't know what would have happened. I can remember we were getting ready to take the phone call when I knew Pam was going to make her decision. And I was up in the office. T-Mac was there. And the phone rings. It's Pam. I'm excited. I know what this phone call is going to be. It's either a yes or a no. I wasn't really sure what was going to happen. So I answer the phone. And here's Pam. Hey, I've been thinking about things. So I guess I think I'm coming to Northwood. And the tone of her voice, I was like, oh my gosh, we lost her. Like, she's not coming to Northwood. But what you need to understand is Pam's different. All right? And what I mean by that, throughout the recruiting process, I'm talking to her high school coach her senior year, and after a game, I'm trying to talk to him about where we're at. Are we going to get her? Is she ready to make a commitment to us? And he never really said much, but one of the things he did say was, Pam's different. And I'm thinking, okay, like we've spent all this time recruiting, getting to know her family, doing our homework. She's got great grades, great citizenship, great player. What do you mean she's different? So as I go through this tonight, I think you're going to understand why Pam is different. I'm at an AAU event watching Pam play in Chicago. There was a suspended track above the top, and as I'm sitting up there watching her, standing right next to a coach in our league, the teams, there was a timeout, and they kind of cross paths going to their bench. The player from the other team trips Pam, and Pam falls down, gets up, has a few choice words for her, but I thought she was going to fight her. And in my opinion, after that, I was like, yeah, we need her here. I think the coach next to me was like, ooh, I don't know if I like that. I loved it. So long story short, Pam committed to Northwood. She was easily one of the most versatile players I've ever had the opportunity to coach. Pam played every position, 1 through 4. We never really got to the 5, but she played every single position on the floor for us and did extremely well. Didn't matter what position it was, Pam was going to find success because Pam is different. Junior year, we had 8 players out for the year, season-ending injuries. It was devastating. But because Pam was different, it was just another challenge. She had to move to the point guard after playing at the 4, which was kind of the catalyst to our offense. Did it, and did it well. While we went through that and look at things with Pam, she was part of almost every single first for our program. First time we won a conference championship, a divisional championship. First time we won a postseason game. First time we made the NCAA tournament. And a big reason why all those things happened was because of Pam and her leadership on our team. Pam's junior year, as I mentioned, 8 players out for the year throughout the beginning of the season. We were playing the number 3 team in the country. First game of the season. This is when we are full strength. Arguably the best team that we had put together. Very excited about this team. One of the things about Pam, when she gets very nervous, especially back in the college days, we've talked about this in the last couple days, sweating profusely. If she had to do a radio show with T-Mac on the radio with nobody else around her, sweating, nervous. Pam got fouled at the end of that game. We were playing Cal PA at Ashland University, opening game of the season. 0 seconds left. I think they ended up putting 1 on the clock. Score was tied. They were number 3 in the country. Pam was 15 for 15 from the free throw line in that game. I think the other stat, I think she had 23 points. She stepped up to the foul line. There was never a question whether those shots were going in. Again, Pam was different. When we move on that junior year, as I talked about with all the season-ending injuries, Pam also had some injuries. And I think back, we did have a wonderful athletic training staff, one of which is sitting over here. We were up at Lake Superior State, and Pam had a sprained ankle. And I remember at the shoot-around going to it. First of all, Dave, you can remember this. I called him on the phone. I said, we do not have enough players to play today because we have so many injuries. Like, what's the status? Can we reschedule the game? Is this a forfeit? And Dave politely said, you're going to play. And I said, okay. And I'm at shoot-around watching Pam jog in circles for what seemed like an hour, hop up and down on one leg, and it didn't matter what Andy Kripe was going to say to her today. Are you going to play today? She would have done it. All right? She would have jumped up and down on her one leg for 10 minutes, 100 minutes, didn't matter because she wanted to play so bad. She didn't end up playing in that game, and we also won. And Carly Leroy, who's in the crowd tonight, I think had 28 points. It was amazing. But as we got through that year, one of the things that really made Pam different was her parents. Both Rob and Deb were college athletes, phenomenal role models for Pam. And I remember going through that season, and Deb, you gave me a book that said, Finish Strong. And I needed it. I needed it bad. I mean, that was a very tough year. I've since passed that book on to another coach who happens to be in this room this evening, too. But that was the kind of role models she had. Again, it was different, all right? When we look ahead to the rest of that year, one of the things that really stuck out for me for Pam, we were playing Grand Valley, the last regular season game of the year. Pam's ankle was still not healed, and I think she actually had sprained it earlier in that week. And as we're getting ready to go play Grand Valley, which ended up being her nemesis more so, Pam was undefeated against Saginaw Valley, by the way, for her career. She looked at me one day, and I'm always building up the Saginaw Valley game. She's like, I don't care about them. I want to beat Grand Valley. And that was her mentality as well. It didn't matter who the competition was. We were going to beat the best. And we go down, and we're getting ready to play Grand Valley. The bus ride over. I'm thinking in my mind, we had already qualified for the GLIAC tournament. I wasn't going to play Pam. We need to save her for the tournament. Yeah, that wasn't happening. Pam not only played in that game, we beat Grand Valley by 1 point, regular season finale. She played 40 minutes and had 23 points on a broken leg, basically. It was an amazing performance. I'll never forget it. And when you move into Pam's senior year, we got off to a really, really rough start. I think we were 2-7. We were 0-5 in the league. Then we had a trip over to Puerto Rico. And that was the turning point of our season. From that point on, we won 12 out of our last 14 games. And the big reason was her leadership and taking the team and putting it on her back. Again, Pam was different. As coaches, we always talk about that stuff too. The greats are simply different. What separates them from everybody else, they have to be a little bit different, and Pam was just that. Pam's leadership in the locker room was unbelievable. From a coaching standpoint, I would walk back there, and there would be times where I could hear them talking in the locker room after a win or after a tough loss. And I remember on 2 occasions I walked in, and I could hear her talking, and you'd almost walk in and just say, okay, what she just said, we good? All right, see you tomorrow. She was that kind of a leader. Again, very different. Pam was always working on her game, to the point where it was like, you need to take a few days off or take some time off. There were no off days for Pam Wilson. She was in the gym constantly. She demanded that of herself and her teammates. Every day at practice, I can remember going through practices, and Pam would say, whose voice is going to be heard today? Who's stepping up today? And just to get people going. The leadership was off the charts, and it's a big reason for her success and will continue to be for the rest of her life. We always talk with our teams about leaving a legacy. What are people going to say about you when you're no longer here and you've left your stamp on this program? Coaches do it all the time. We did in our program. And I can assure you that Pam will be talked about in that locker room for years to come. She has been for the last 10 years. I can almost guarantee that will continue. Pam certainly left a legacy here of a person people want to follow, a person people aspire to be like. When I look out here tonight and I see 10 former players on her team, traveled from all across the country to be here tonight, I think that says enough about Pam's legacy that she left here, her leadership, and what she is as a person. So with that, it is my absolute honor to introduce Pam Wilson, our latest inductee into the Northwood University Hall of Fame.
Okay. Wow. Let me get my speech back here. Okay, so when Coach first called me, he said, take a minute and think about who you would like to do the introduction for the ceremony. And I kind of laughed, and I'm like, why would I choose anybody but you? He's like, well, you can, but you don't have to. But Coach, you've honestly been such an impact just in my life, in my career. The success I had, it would not have been the same without him. I think a big part of why I do have the teammates here tonight is you, and just the environment that he created was amazing. I'm honored that the committee selected me to be a part of this year's class. So thank you, Dave Marsh, and the rest of the committee. Thank you to Kripe. Thanks for keeping me on the court or in the corner. Team Mac, thank you. You're
welcome.
Some stories are appropriate for Hall of Fame dinners, some are not. I'm grateful for the university and the education that it provided me. It opened a lot of doors, including the one to my career that I started 8 years ago and I'm still loving and building today. I'd like to thank my family, my mom, my dad, my stepdad, Bill, who couldn't be here today. The support that they provided, showing up to games. I think the camaraderie that our parents had was probably equivalent to what us players had, which was an amazing experience. I want to say thank you to my teammates. If you guys can stand up. Nothing would have been the same without you guys. And more than just teammates, you guys are my people. Northwood's become a family, and that's very, very important to me. So Coach used to start every season with a very specific reading. The article or the book was called The Precious Present. So for those of you that haven't read it, it's about a young boy and his journey to understand that the ultimate gift that you can give yourself is to be present. That you can learn from your past and you can be hopeful for your future, but true happiness comes from being present. So my past on the women's basketball team used to be my present, and it was amazing. As a freshman, I learned what leadership looked like from my teammates like Lisa, who's here today, and Megan Starnes, who's also in the Hall of Fame, as well as Jody. So I'm happy to join them. I learned about, saying good morning to adversity at our 6 a.m. practices. Leaving practice so sweaty just to go eat at the caf and devour a massive salad. still sweaty, and actually wondering why Carly was so sweaty. For those of you that don't know, Carly never sweats. She only had sweat on her because she guarded me. The past that used to be my present was coming back from being down almost 30 points at halftime against Northern Michigan and celebrating that huge win in the locker room with my best friends. Our present used to be being able to go and laugh while we're running down the court because Wacky just threw a bounce pass to Jody after running clear for about the 10th time that game. It was looking for church and knowing that if she was on the three-point, probably head back and get on defense. If she was inside, go offensive rebound. Those were my precious present moments. And my future will be the present. I think what Northwood and women's basketball and Coach Curtis specifically has taught me is that discipline pays off and what hard work and true commitment really looks like. In my future, I hope to replicate the support that I received from my family. Not only the support from my parents, but also from my grandparents who are tuning in from heaven. But them cheering in the stands and just plain showing up. In the future, I hope to continue to appreciate great leadership. That's really hard to come by, and so when you find it, I hope that I recognize it as quickly as I did in the recruiting process, even though it probably didn't come across that way. And I'm going to continue to celebrate the special moments with my teammates. Them being here today, the moments in their life, that will be my present in the future. But the present moment is the only reality that we ever really experience, and that's being here today. And the most amazing part about tonight is really the people that I get to celebrate this with. I'm honored that people came to spend this time with me and make it as special as possible. Specifically, I want to give a shout out to Corey, who came all the way from Colorado, but my absolute best friend. So the book also says that the precious present isn't a gift that other people can give you, but at this moment I would argue that that's incorrect because the gift that not only my people but everybody that's here today has made this night absolutely wonderful and an absolute present. So with that, I just want to say thank you. I want to give another special shout out just to my grandparents and also Coach Rietma. Words can't describe the gratitude that I feel, so thank you.